absolutely. And I want to talk more about his past, but I want to bring in Robert to look at this case. You're a former prosecutor, as I mentioned, Robert, and here you had some serious challenges. There was never a murder weapon found. There was no eyewitness who came forward anyway. And then you have this surveillance video where the jurors had to take the word of the prosecution that this dark object that was being held by Aaron Hernandez was, in fact, the murder weapon.
Listen, prosecutors have to try difficult cases with circumstantial evidence. When I started trying homicide cases, we didn't even have DNA analysis. Today, we have all sorts of sophisticated video, as you've seen in this, 3 separate videos being picked up the victim, gas station, at the house. You also have text messages. You have phone use. So while the prosecution would love to have a murder weapon, while the prosecution would love to have motive, the judge is very clear. You don't need any of those things for a prosecution. And the prosecution did a very good step-by-step showing that they lured in wait for him. They got him into the car, and that videotape evidence showed him they brought him to a place, a desolate place for the murder. The murder was committed. And again, most importantly to me, is the rule of common sense. They came back to their house as if nothing happened, and after witnessing such a horrible thing. And I think the common sense is more driving to a jury than all sorts of other sophisticated theories. So I never saw it as a problem that they didn't have a murder weapon. They knew he was killed. They knew that he had a weapon, and that weapon is gone, probably in the box of his fiancee. So to me, it was pretty straightforward, not as so much a problem for the prosecution.
Let me bring in Robert Bianchi. He's a former prosecutor, criminal defense attorney. We also have with us Darren Kavanoki. He's a criminal defense attorney, and still outside the courtroom, Ron Mott. Let me bring you in first, Robert, here. We heard the victim impact statement. We did not hear from Aaron Hernandez. We did not also hear the family ask the question I think Ron Mott has said lingers with them. Why did Aaron Hernandez, according to this jury, take Odin Lloyd's life?
Yeah, I don't think anybody's ever going to get the answer to that. This is a very common situation that happens in murder cases where the family is looking for some closure with regard to the why it was done or how come it was done. In a circumstantial evidence case such as this, I don't think they're going to ever get that answer, because I can tell you, as a prosecutor, as a defense attorney, I'm not having my client opine about the reason why he committed a murder when he has other murder charges pending and he's got an appellate issue with regard to this case. So it's an unfortunate thing. I used to tell victims' families that were the subject of murder cases all the time, the courtroom is a place for potential justice, but in the end, if there's a guilty verdict, as satisfying as that is when you're hugging the family and justice was achieved, there's still a long road that they're going to have to go through emotionally, because as you've just heard, this was a gut-wrenching loss for these people that the justice system just cannot fill, even with a guilty verdict.
But Robert, we're listening here to this testimony. We know, according to the statements Aaron Hernandez gave, as well as even to the owner, Robert Kraft, of the team, he maintains even now that he was at a nightclub when Odin Lloyd was murdered, and that once the timeline was revealed, he would be cleared of any charges here. That was not the case, but having the opportunity to express to this family his sadness, as it was presented by his defense, they were about to be brothers-in-law. They were dating sisters, but nothing for this family from him.
Yeah, listen, I mean, my experience has been with somebody like this, everybody's, in my opinion, looking at this the wrong way about being no motive. There is motive here. This man was making tens of millions of dollars at a very young age. He is used to having people do everything for him that he asks. Everyone wants to be around him. Everyone wants to do whatever it is to be part of the quote-unquote Aaron Hernandez team. And there's this narcissistic, in my opinion, piece to a lot of these individuals, sometimes created from prior incidents psychologically or exacerbated because of all of their fame and celebrity, where they don't even recognize what they've done is wrong, and as long as they don't get caught, they just don't care. So I don't think they're going to get any measure of satisfaction from Aaron Hernandez, and if I were the prosecutor on this case, I would be telling them don't expect it, because any apology or any explanation is not going to suffice for them. They need to move towards the light, to a place where they just accept it. They're happy that the justice system worked, and they're just going to need to move on and potentially use the victim witness services that the prosecutor will provide for them for counseling.
Robert, let me bring you back in. We have a statement from the Massachusetts State Police Department, and it goes on and it ends basically by saying that no one is above the law. Obviously, anytime someone's life is taken, as was the case with Odin Lloyd, it is a sad moment for families and for us to watch this. But when you highlight the fact, as Ron has, with this NFL star, this guy who seemed to have it all. I believe it was the Boston Globe that referred to, his good looks, the money that he had, the access, and on his way up in the sport that he played. But as pointed out by the Massachusetts State Police Department, no one is above the law. And we talk about celebrity in these court cases so often, where people believe that celebrities somehow get a break when they are not found guilty.
Yeah, I never bought or subscribed to that. I believe that judges in the system and the jurors try to do the right thing with all people. But I will say, when you are a celebrity and when the media attention goes into that courtroom, it does change the manner in which you try a case. I've had it happen to me. You can't help it with the inertia of cameras and media that everybody's kind of a little bit off their game. But everybody pretty much tries to assure that if you're a celebrity, you're not going to be treated better. I would say, in fact, that I've seen cases that I personally been involved with where their celebrity may have actually hurt them. People are bending over backwards in order not to make it look like the celebrity has any impact here. So I would say his celebrity was factually relevant in this case because the prosecutor really didn't hit it too hard. But to me, all the things you just mentioned about the contracts and the money and people taking a chance on him, the night before he was murdered, he wrote that test. He was bugging out, quote unquote, because of the spot. We really don't know what that means, but what it provided to the jury was that all of these contracts, all of this money, all this fame and popularity and people taking a chance on him, whatever that thing was he was referring to, could have been wiped away. And that's something that celebrities have to deal with all the time. They're under the microscope and have to fear losing it all. And that, to me, provides a powerful motive.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Robert. We greatly appreciate it. And Ron, thank you as well for being live outside the courtroom. We're going to continue to follow this breaking news.